Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The self-isolation of the United States of America. But it's not made because the isolation was somehow desired by the American people. No, the United States of America's actions in the name of one entity will result, I think, in its isolation and an enhanced hatred coming from the most countries on this planet. Why is that? Well, we are told here that people envy us, the Americans, because we're so fantastic. Well, that infantile argument can go as far. After that, you need some evidence. And I'm afraid the evidence are running towards a different kind of conclusion, and that is your behavior triggered a wave of dislike from other countries. Actually, a wave of panic, of terror, if you want, in dealing with the United States of America regarding at least one issue. And that issue is Israel. I have here a number of articles to make my point. The United States of America is being isolated from the rest of the world, alienated, because one issue, one entity, which I think kind of like has a lot of influence, I'm using nice words, on the United States of America and its people. Let me show you. And it has to do with Palestine. A few days ago, if you remember, France says that we'll recognize Palestine as a state. Okay, well, good for you, finally. Second, we have these guys, Great Britain, to recognize Palestinian state unless Israel agrees to Gaza ceasefire. There's nothing left over there, Starmer. You're a Johnny-come-lately at the party, as I indicated. And then we find this one, The Telegraph, July 30th, how Europe turned on Israel over Palestine. No, it turned on Israel because Palestine is being massacred, I think, by certain individuals and military with the help of the Americans. Next, let me show you what the Americans did. Time. Israel and the United States of America condemn France's decision to recognize Palestinian statehood. All right, so the Americans pick those guys versus the French. Why? Because you draw your conclusion. Then, Russia Today, the 30th of July 2025, Israel accuses United Kingdom of, and I'm quoting, appeasing terrorism. London said it will recognize the state of Palestine unless Gaza received aid and there is a truce by September. But these guys are saying, if you criticize us, you must be on the other side. We're not doing anything wrong. And if you push further, you're going to be called an anti for criticizing. United States of America is following this trend. And let me show you one of, I think, the other two with the France and with the Great Britain was, yes, important, but it has no teeth. Why? What are you going to do about it? Condemn it how much you want, recognize it as another 140 other countries on this planet, made out of about 193 or 194 countries, depends on what kind of, how should I put it, government the United States of America topples in that day. We have the Netherlands. And the Netherlands, I'm very surprised about this statement. And here is from Israel National News. Netherlands designates Israel a security threat. A dramatic report from the Netherlands signals a shift in Dutch policy, which its intelligence agency identify Israel as a threat to international legal order. I have never thought I would hear this from the Dutch. Never. All right, so what do you expect to happen after that? The guys in the Netherlands will be called anti-this, the guys in France anti-that, the guys in Great Britain anti-that, the guys in whomever is going to criticize Whatever those guys are doing are going to call anti, and they will have the bully boy ready to smack anybody in the teeth as soon as the key is releasing the bully boy's leash. Now let me tell you, this is not something new, not at all. The point is, the United States of America will be left alone with some vassal states that cannot break away. Great Britain, for instance, if they want, but they don't wanna. France and others can break out of this plantation. But countries as Romania will never be able to leave. Poland or Czech Republic, countries like this will never leave. Or Bulgaria, they can't. So, nobody will leave. Well, some will obviously identify the United States of America as the big threat because of why? Standing with this entity, which is recognized by the other one, as you draw your conclusion. So that's the first point with this. And I said that this is not new. Let me explain to you why this is not new. In the Middle Ages, when the kings wanted to start wars or they needed money to implement certain policies, usually tyrannical policies, they need money. And you had some lending money to the king, not to the, peasants or whatever they were, serfs or whatever they were called. No, yeoman. No, to the king. Therefore, you own the king. So you go straight at the top, providing help to the king, and then obviously you have an open door. That's how some kings in Europe, after another king came, said, oh my God, this guy was owned by this interest, let's get him, blah, blah, blah. So you don't have to go, let's say you have an CIA. You don't go to a field CIA officer or agent. You don't go to that guy and you bribe him, or you help him with money, or you do anything about it. No, you don't go to that. You go to his boss, and then you go to the boss of the boss. You go to the boss, preferably you go to the top. If you got that guy in your pocket financially, and not only, you got the whole apparatus. You got the king, you got the country, or whatever the king is able to control. This is what you do. You go to the strongest. In the world, the strongest is now, and was for the past 30-some years, the United States of America. Still is. Therefore, it's owned. Why? Because with the strongest, you maneuver and punch everybody in the teeth who are trying to oppose your goals and interests wherever you have them. So that's exactly what happens right now. I think the United States of America is very much owned by certain interests. And being the biggest, you don't have to go to Romania and try to buy those baboons. You talk to the Americans. Americans are yours, and they will tell the Romanians, back the fuck off on that issue. So, the Americans tell the French, the Americans will tell the Dutch, the Americans will tell the Brits, not that it matters, the Brits, or something like this. As I said, recognition of a state means nothing without enforcement. Nothing. The same. There's a resolution, I think is 242, after the whatever 6-day war or whatever it was, remember the 1960s, voted and agreed upon that Israel should retreat from the occupied territories, some occupied territories. They didn't since then. So then what's the point of resolutions? What's the point of United Nations? What's the point of the Security Council? If these guys ignore it and nobody does anything to them, why? You got the boss owned. You want to see, and you can look at the record. I know this record from Norman Finkelstein. He repeats this over and over again, saying that consistently at the United Nations, when they vote in the General Assembly, there's about 7 to 9 countries that vote for Israel. The rest of the world is on one side. 7 countries, 6 countries are always in this camp, which usually is United States of America, which vetoes everything. It didn't veto the resolution 242. That's something. So I don't know if it was really it was not implemented. Why? How can you make them do anything? You can't. Therefore, with the recognition of Palestine would mean nothing. Why? The bully boy will oppose it. The bully boy is like the principal of the school. He has the authority to override everybody and everything. That's it. He's going to fight. Let's put a CEO, how you owner of a business. So that's what it is. You don't have to own Romania. You own the United States of America. And the United States of America, through its actions, isolates itself. And I suspect there will be some negative consequences. Unfortunately, I predict that you and I, if you're an American citizen, will have due to these policies. And then the same media, which is also operatives for certain interests, will come and tell you why that happened. And they will give you a lie and a narrative. Like in September 11, if you remember. Why did they attack us? Because they hate our freedom. And some baboons believed that. But they don't care if they believe it because the system is as it is. You got the media, entertainment, politicians, schools. What else do you need? Military. Anyway, so here is, my friends. The United States of America will be isolates itself for this whore. That's what it is. And what are we going to do? Then we're going to cry, and these guys are going to give us the narrative and why that happened. And it's a big, big lie. You can't criticize, because if you criticize, you're called anti. What is this? This is not America that we were told we live in. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Pay attention. Pay attention how the United States of America will be left alone little by little. The only countries that will stay around the United States of America will be countries that will be threatened. If you leave, we're going to fuck you up. And some people who will benefit, because you have to accept vassalship. Or vassalage. You have to accept it. Sometimes, you come and say, I'm your vassal right here. And that's it. That means I turn around, I take a dip, and you give me a candy after that. That's all. That's what Romania does, for instance. Gets a candy for being dip. That's a vassal state for you. Great Britain, if they don't want, they don't have to be vassals. The problem is they choose to. Why? Because they have two candies, not one, like Romania. And they're owned too. Because Starmer came and said that is because the outrage in Great Britain. They got too many English people in Great Britain and too many Scots in Great Britain. They fuck themselves with the same policies instituted by the same guys with diversity is our strength in the United States of America. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.